It's Friday morning here in Germany at the Munich Messe München, where we are having Electronica 2024, and the surprise guests never seem to stop. I've got Alex here. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm really glad to be here, Brian, because, well, opportunity to interface with the audience. I mean, I love you all. I really do love this industry, and it's really cool to be here at this show because it's so dynamic and live. It really shows you that it's come back completely from the COVID days. There are people, this is the last day of the show, and there are people walking the halls. Most trade shows, last day, it's like tumbleweeds and people are tearing down already. And there are people here doing business right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I worry about Eddie. That's our next great guest, Eddie from Eddie's TechLab. And what concerns me is you've only got one day. I mean, actually, you've got half a day because people give up around about lunchtime.
That's right. Thank you for having me here. It's really an honor. And I'm very overwhelmed of the mood of the people. You're right. Friday, everybody should be tired, but there's so much energy here. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And so for those guests, for those viewers who don't know our guests, tell us a bit about yourself, Alex.
Well, yes, thank you. Well, I've been in this business a long time. I'm originally Army Security Agency. I was an electronic warfare soldier here in Germany. That's why I live here now. I came here in '81, spent 2 years on the East-West German border listening to the Russians. And, well, frankly, that's one of the reasons I can work in this industry, because I'm not an engineer, but as an electronic warrior, they at least let me talk until I say something stupid. I currently work for Endeavor as their European events editor. I have a podcast on electronic design, and I'm also the editor-in-chief of the IEEE Power Electronics magazine. Been a fan of this industry my whole life.
And pretty much my whole life as well, I've been a fan of the industry, not just since I bought my first Elektor when I was 16, but when I was 6, smashing apart old radios and pulling out the capacitors to see what makes them happen. And you, Eddie, brief introduction to yourself?
Hello, I'm Eddie from Eddie's TechLab. I'm an electronic engineer since 25 years, worked in the semiconductor business, and I run my YouTube channel since almost 5 years now in home automation, electronic, and do-it-yourself. And sometimes we're making some fun projects too, like this beautiful cocktail machine, which will be on stage starting in January next year.
On stage, yeah, we could use that now. Is it 3D printed?
It's 3D printed, yes.
So a 3D printed cocktail machine, nice.
I'd take one.
Here, Alex would take one. And since you just got here, I won't ask you this question, but I'll ask Alex, what have you seen this week? What excited you?
Well, you know, I've been hearing from people that, oh, there's nothing really crazy exciting here. And I'm like, that's a good thing, because this is an evolutionary show in my mind, not a revolutionary show, because we've had in the last 3 to 5 years some very significant advances in power electronics and wireless technology and software, a lot of promise. And now we're actually seeing the products. You know, when you think about it, the industrial DIN rail computer that's half the size, it's not exciting unless you're an industrial process engineer or advanced robotics or better wireless systems. So to me, the excitement for me for this show is not that there are anything crazy. It's that all of these serious trends, AI, advanced wide bandgap semiconductors, the wireless systems are now in products. So it was 3 years ago, wow. Today it's now.
So one thing I noticed you didn't mention is AI. That's also just infiltrating everything. I'm not sure, sometimes it's a marketing term, and sometimes it's making some amazing groundbreaking for us, a lot of productivity gains in that. Have you dabbled much with that?
Well, in my mind, there are 2 tiers of AI. There's the glitzy stuff that people see, the chat GPT and all of that other. And then there's the nuts and bolts AI, industrial process control, robotics control, the serious applications, as it were. And for example, 6G is going to include AI into it because it's got to integrate non-terrestrial networks, satellites. And so AI is very promising at the infrastructure level. to be gatekeepers of the data, to help manage information, to help control systems. So there's the AI that everybody sees, and then there's the AI that actually is doing things. And that's the part of what I was saying in the becoming in the now is there is AI out here now, but it's practical AI. It's functional AI.
Great. And for you, Eddie, how much has AI transformed your workflow?
I use AI for programming as a support, and it's like programming on steroids. So you program 2 to 3 times faster as you usually would. All the research, I just put it in ChatGPT. If I get the error message, ChatGPT will come up with the analysis, so I don't need to Google around and look into all the web pages anymore. So it's much, much faster and very beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, it works well for me as well. Some people complain about it. I don't know. Maybe they're expecting too much. I go module by module and, take out the bugs if there are any and give it some guidance as to what I want. But maybe people are sitting down and saying, write me a Netflix. That's a bit too much to ask.
One interesting aspect, which touches on what you were saying about using ChatGPT for programming, Liquid Instruments, they're a software-based test and measurement company. They already have ChatGPT in their protocols now. So when the engineer is writing code for the test, the ChatGPT helps them write that code. So yeah, writing along what you were saying, Eddie.
And it's not like you don't need to understand the programming anymore. So you still need to know what you're doing. It's just a big, big benefit to use AI to support you with the just typing stuff, for example.
And you guys both live in Germany. Eddie, how far away are you from?
Sorry?
Where do you live?
I'm from Switzerland.
Oh, Switzerland. I figured you were German.
No, I'm from Austria. My nationality is Austrian, but I
Okay.
live in Switzerland.
And here I am watching your YouTube videos thinking this charming German gentleman.
So I hope my German is now understandable for everybody in Germany as well. So I had to learn that to take off my dialects.
Cool. And you've got a large following and a good engaged and active community. Does that take up a lot of your time, but you enjoy it, I'm guessing?
Absolutely, yes. So I do it in my free time. And the last 4.5 years, I grew almost 30,000 subscribers. So I'm reaching maybe the next 2 or 3 weeks, 30,000, which
Wow.
is the next big good milestone.
Yeah, it's a great milestone. And you, how do you reach your audience?
Well, I'm a very lucky person because Endeavor has a large spread of venues, as it were, because I do stuff for microwaves and RF and power and motion and electronic design. So if it's something more embedded electronics, I put it in electronic design. If it's more wireless oriented, microwaves and RF, that's an advantage for me there. Born in New York, I live in Germany. I live near Frankfurt, actually. But that's one of the reasons why I'm Endeavor's European events editor. But one of the things that I really find interesting is that we, from different areas, different specialization spaces, this cool cocktail machine, we're literally creating the future as we go along. And we're taking these advanced technologies and we're turning them into things that aren't just practical, but also fun.
And you mentioned off camera that you took a step into a dangerous world of a man who does not exist.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because sometimes you see a lot of different things at the booths to get attention, but New Power had David Hasselhoff at their booth, and the Germans love David Hasselhoff. And the interesting thing is, they like David Hasselhoff. They know he's a TV star and a movie star, but he's like Wayne Newton here. He does a stage show in Germany. He sings and all kinds. So they love him. They really do. So I stood in line for 15 minutes to get my picture taken with David Hasselhoff for my German friends, so I can send them all the pictures. Hey, I was with the Hoff.
Yeah, I was fascinated by the story of him happening to be here in Germany in 1989 when the wall came down, and he was like, I got to go sing there. And he put on a jacket that LEDs those days, flashing jacket, and he stood on the wall and dismantled the wall himself by hand. So it's quite legendary.
And that's part of what started him as being a lounge act here, because he had that freedom song, and it resonated with the German people, and so they have a little special connection to him that he doesn't find in other places. I mean, if he went to the States, he would obviously be recognized as a celebrity and all, but because he's tied into that, as you pointed out, the Germans call it the Wende, the turn, when the Cold War ended and they got unified again. And there are only a couple of songs that actually resonate with that. Nena's 99 Luftballons, or The Wind of Change from the Scorpions, and Hasselhoff's Freedom.
Und du, Eddie, aus der Schweiz, machst du Knight Rider?
Absolutely. I grow up with Kit.
Cool. So it's not just Germany, guys. It was dubbed into German, but I think in the Netherlands, they subtitle everything. So you guys know English better than the Germans do. Eddie, what else is coming up in your project list?
After the cocktail machine is really finished, maybe I'm going to take care more about the hydroponic planting systems. So this will be my future bigger project.
Yeah, and that's quite a big one. It's just around the corner here. Maybe we should go mobile, take a walk around the booth. And Eddie, I'm holding you back because you have little time at this fair. What are you hoping to achieve in the next couple of hours?
So we have an interview in 1 hour again, and then I will look around a little bit to see some of my sponsors also, like JNC, BCB.
Excellent. So sponsors all the way, and we've got our sponsors, which is great. They help make the show happen. And Alex, you've got a few hours. Are you just going to crash and get a beer, or are you going to go see some more stuff?
Well, press, never a minute that's not a meeting. I mean, I've been in meetings since 9 o'clock Tuesday, and I got meetings until 3 o'clock today, the last day. But people ask me, what do I look for in a show? I always say, I look for my friends. I'm going to see the technology, but I'll bump into somebody in a hallway that I haven't seen for 3 years. You know, that's one of the things about an event like this, is that I always like to remind people it's about people, because you could put 100 cell phones in a room, come back a month later, and it's just 100 cell phones in a room. You put 10 people in a room, come back an hour later, there's a market. People make a market. Things are just what we use to interface with people.
That's right.
Things are indeed what we use to interface with people. It's kind of like B2B and B2C, and no matter how big your business, how big your industry, everything at the end of the chain comes down to the consumer. So it's the same with machines. No matter how complex they are, how deep the dive is, it's all coming down to serving people at the end of the day. A lot of computers are serving other computers, but at the end, there's always a human at the end of the chain. What sort of readership do you have? What's the mix of people and industry and so on?
Well, we're very much a nuts and bolts engineering publication group, right? So in the case of electronic design, a lot of double E's, electronic engineers. In the embedded space, working on power systems, sensor networks and the like, and microwaves and RF, we've got the RF engineers doing the wireless. And what I'm fond of saying is, the more wireless out here, the more wires behind the wall. So wireless technology actually involves a lot of cable, but you don't see it because it's in the infrastructure and not in the products themselves. Well, they're in the products themselves as well. There's tons of wires, but our readership, I'm very proud of the fact that they are the people, the men and the women who are creating these new systems, these new solutions. And, you know, we have to support them. And that's one of the wonderful things about this show is it's like a big toolbox, and they can walk through and they can pull out the tool they need, take it home and use it.
Exactly. And Eddie, your projects serve humans as well. In fact, that one will literally serve humans, the cocktail machine. And what you said it's going to be out in January. Where will it be in January?
It will be available on our website.
Okay. Yeah, your living room and mine.
Well, you know, this is a perfect example of the fusion between practical and fun. Because in one sense, you could literally say, well, it doesn't have to be a cocktail mixing machine. Maybe it's a reagent premixer for a chemical process, or some other way to modulate and control fluids for an application. In this case, cocktails. But it could be any liquid in those bottles being mixed for whatever end purpose. So I think this is actually a great example of why we do this.
Exactly. I'm having a look at the online chat. We don't have any questions there. Are there any questions here in the audience? None as yet. Okay, let me have a look at my highlights. Actually, I'm not going to do that because you know what? We have an experiment to do here. I want to take the audience mobile around the booth. Would you guys take a walk with me?
Yeah,
Share
absolutely.
a microphone? Okay. Let's get up onto screen. Remove that camera. Microphone receiver. And yeah, the robot's always a popular feature. Now let's go to the front of the booth. That's where our client team meets with their clients. And the front wall. I'm testing my luck with the distance here, but you can still hear me. Chantal. And there's CJ, whose suggestion was to take a walk around, so we're doing that. And yeah, we have DIY guy, Chris, soldering away. Chris, you're live.
Look at this.
Yep, we had that on earlier. It's quite an amazing little drone. There's a Max Imagination back here. And DIY guy Chris impressing with his LEDs. LEDs are always a draw. You can have a 50 gigahertz processor with 2 terabytes of cache. And
The challenge is about this circuit board that has been soldered by solder iron. So they solder all these small components by hand using a solder iron, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
yes, we have the soldering competition coming up later, and DIY guy Chris will be hosting that. And we're keen to see the skills that people have, because those are surface mount components. I was hoping for through hole, so I'm not going to enter. Max Imagination showing off his stuff again. There you see them all, our influences on the wall. And finally, to Eddie's section. Eddie, tell me what's going on here.
All right. Here you can see 2 different projects of mine. This is a garden Wemos. This is an automatic watering system. This is the easier one with measuring with a capacitive soil moisture sensor. And then you can turn on and on the pump regarding of this sensor values you got here. So this is just like pumping for 5 seconds and 20 seconds off, just to illustrate how it would work. And on this side, you can see the Pro version. This allows you to connect 3 sensors and 2 pumps.
Great.
And it also includes a display.
And these are your digital business cards?
No, these are actually discount cards
Okay.
for my ebook. So feel free the next week to get a big discount on my online ebook.
Well, I'm not sure if my focus works for that QR code, but if you can, scan it. And now we're back around the other, and we'll return to the stage before my microphone dies completely. Okay, we're back. I hope that you enjoyed that view of behind the scenes here at the Elektor booth.
You know, you were saying something about robots earlier, and one of the things that I've been hearing a lot about is how robots are becoming a very big new thing. And interestingly enough, robots have been around for a while. And it's not like robots are strange to us, but every once in a while, a certain movement gets to a gel point. It gets to the tipping point. And I think robots are on that tipping point because you've got cobots going on now. You've got both functional and fun robots. And sadly, we've got military robots out there. And the pressure to develop is driving significant development right now. When you think about industrial robots, we have cobots, right? So not only do we have to have the advanced robot, but we have to have the advanced sensor systems so that that robot can function around human beings without hurting them, and to be able to do the job, help the human in their task, and still be a safe mechanism. So the advancement in robots to be more ubiquitous in society, I think, is a big trend.
Yeah, there's always a military application for every technology, sadly. And in technology such as visions and camera, it reminds me of the Olympics. There's always a push for the latest, greatest technology. The Olympics were first with HD. They were first with 3D. Now it's drone footage. There's always some new technical innovation at the Olympics. So before we wrap up, I'm just going to have a look at my notes at what we saw this week. A lot of cutting edge robotics. We saw AI advancements. And like you say, the robots are at that precipice, but with the help of this incredible artificial intelligence. And I don't mean ChatGPT. I mean the guys programming at the edge, Practical AI, exactly. IoT innovations, a lot of sustainability tech. And that's right up Don's ethics in electronics path. And what impressed us was our startups' ingenuity. I mean, everything from stacked Peltier modules, efficiency barriers, flexible solar cells, it was all over the place. Nordic Semiconductors, they had good displays. They had a Harry Potter wand with BLE, Bluetooth audio, multi-device broadcasting, Max's FPV project. You weren't here for that, but he showed it to you briefly. You move your head, the goggles on. Yeah, and he had the goggles on, and I had to move the microphone with him when he was here on stage. And yes, the camera moves while your head moves. So that's pretty impressive. Personal fan interactions, that was a lot of fun. They got to meet their fans, and they still are, as you saw when we took a walk around there. People are coming up to them. And I've had them on the show. I've had all of them on the show, but now meeting them all in person, all at the same time, and having dinner with them, that's been a highlight for me. I'm sure that would be for you too, Eddie.
Oh, yeah.
Robotics again, AI, sustainability focus. And yeah, that's about it on my notes. A lot of hands-on project, focus on education, a lot of emerging tech. So let me ask you, Eddie, recent builds that were successful, because that's something I wanted to ask you. Your recent projects, what are people crazy about?
Well, actually, my recent project is the automatic watering system, which I have already a couple of years, but it's still renewing it from time to time, make it better.
And user feedback. Let me not ask about sales. Let me ask about enthusiasm out there.
Wow, only positive so far, because everything is designed to really solve it together. Of course, I could just add some SMT components and it's off the shelf, but that's not my goal. I want to have people really go to take the electronic, feel the electronic, and solder them together and be successful in the end. And I'm always open. So if somebody needs support, they drop me some emails and I'm happy to support them.
Great. I completely sympathize with that project, or empathize with your plant, because I had a plant that lasted me 8 years. I could never keep anything growing. They always died, but this one survived. It was great. It was big and flourishing. And then I went overseas for 3 weeks and forgot about it. And now it's sticks in a bowl. So I feel bad, but I want one of your automatic watering systems.
It's very good if you go on holidays, you know. Just set it up. It's done quickly. It's done in 5 minutes and off you go. Enjoy your holidays. And no worry about your plans when you're back.
Exactly. So before we wrap up, I'm going to ask both Alix and Eddie to give us some last thoughts.
Well, one of the things I really want to emphasize, and I brought it up earlier, is that for all of these gadgets and all of these devices, it's a people industry. Like, the reason that's cool is people like cocktails. You know, the reason the robots are important is people want to have work assistants. The reason the wireless systems is because it benefits people. So if I had to have anything that I wanted to leave with you all, is it's a people business. We're not doing this in a vacuum. You know, it's not that we're making these things just to make these things. We're making them for a purpose, and that purpose is to help people.
Thanks. And from you, Eddie,
Yeah, that's
give us
right.
your philosophy.
It's connecting with people and see the happiness to work together, especially for this machine. This is not designed by myself. I've connected with Luca. He's a student from Switzerland. He contacted me, and then we figured out it's better we work on those machines together. So it's so much fun to work in a team.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot of fun. And those cocktails, I still want the cocktails because it's the end of the week and I just want to go home and sleep for a week, but that's not going to happen. At least a cocktail can help me get by.
Absolutely.
So that's almost a wrap on our show. We've got some forums coming up and we'll be giving away the startup awards. That will be pretty exciting. We'll see which of these startups wins and comes second and third. So stay tuned for that. But for now, this is Lab Talk for Friday, 15th of November. Thank you, Alix and Eddie, for joining us.
Very welcome.
And goodbye to the world.